What's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard, Sports Media. It is time to get started on our team previews for 2024 in college football. And I think it's only fair and right that we start with the defending national champs, the Michigan Wolverines, and Jim Harbaugh. As far as we're concerned, Jim Harbaugh plans on staying at Michigan. I have read articles on guys that have already declared for the draft. Some guys have not declared yet. It's kind of hard as far as the roster goes. So surely there will be some turnover and everything going on for the maize and blue. But I look at this and I say the big question is, can they go for four in a row for the Big Ten title? And then ultimately, can they do what Georgia did the past 2 years? Can they win it again? I don't want to say no, but I don't want to say yes. I mean, Georgia lost quite a bit after the first title, and then Michigan, or then they won it again. Now we have Michigan, and they're going to lose quite a bit. Georgia lost their whole defense. Well, Junior Colson, the linebacker for Michigan, declared. Zach Zenter, a right guard, starting tackle, declared for the draft. We haven't heard exactly from JJ McCarthy, but he is rising pretty high in mock drafts. We're assuming he pretty much goes to the pro leagues. Um, Roman Wilson accepted a Senior Bowl invite. When you see that, that says draft, right? So I look at all this and I say Michigan's going to lose some key pieces. There's also questions about Jim Harbaugh's future with Michigan. Uh, most reports lately have come out to say that he's, you know, pointing to stay with the Wolverines, not go to the pros, not go to any other school, but stay with Michigan. That being said, I think it's time to get into their 2024 schedule. Let's assume that Jim Harbaugh is going to be the head coach. Let's assume that they're going to have a lot of talent to replace. I will give the at most prediction when I do these team previews, like the ceiling. I do not expect them to go 15-0 again. I do not expect them to fall off the face of the earth. So where do I have them? Well, let's take a look at their schedule here, real quick. Let's do this one here. I'll zoom in just a little bit. So, conference realignment kicks up. They get a home and home with Texas. You see them on there. USC comes to the Big Ten. They open with Fresno State. They play teams like Arkansas State. Those will be easy wins. No doubt, no brainer. Get it done. Texas, USC kind of worry me. Minnesota, you always worry about the Big Ten opponents. Pretty interesting here. Bet you didn't know this. They do play the Huskies again in a rematch, but they got to go to Seattle to play at Husky Stadium on October 5th of this year. Then they get their bye week, which is perfect timing. And I look at this, I think they get two bye weeks. I'll double check. We'll look at it going forward here at Illinois off the bye week. It should be a win. I haven't looked at Illinois yet. Again, this is our first team preview for 2024. So we're going off what we can only assume. Michigan State, rivalry game there. It'd be interesting. Oregon at Indiana, off week. Northwestern, and then Ohio State on the road. So I don't know the losses. We'll put losses. Well, Going forward with these team previews, I don't know if I want to put losses up on the screen necessarily. We could just kind of talk about their overall like ceiling and floor, kind of a best case, worst case scenario, talking about these teams. I, I think Michigan is set up though that they will be okay. I think that they'll be okay at quarterback. I think they'll be okay at receiver. We don't know exactly just yet. It's still early, but again, I wanted to preview all the teams this year, so we're just going to get a head start on all of that and talk about it as we go through the off season. So, um, I would say at most for Michigan, they could go 11-1 again. I think it's hard to go undefeated twice. Georgia, I remind you, when they had their run, which they're still up there in college football, obviously. We'll talk about them some other day. When you look at Georgia, you had a 14-1 national title where they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship. And then the following year, they beat everyone they played. Well, Michigan goes 15-0. I will definitely not rule out the possibility of Jim Harbaugh getting to the playoffs again, possibly going for 2. I'm not gonna rule any of that out. I think he's set up for success. I think the recruiting is off the charts right now. I think the roster is pretty well built. I know Blake Corum and JJ McCarthy, Roman Wilson most likely going pro, but you gotta think how he's recruited and has kept intact the the roster, the coaching staff, you know, it's really helped. You know, Ron Bellamy is the wide receivers coach, Jesse Mentor, the defensive coordinator, offensive line coach Sharon Moore. I could go down the list. He's got coaches at least for right now, as I record this on a late night, January 11th, 2023. We're just 3 days removed from the Natty. He's pretty much set up. He's losing some players, yes, but I really think that Michigan's not gonna go away if Jim Harbaugh does stay at Michigan, which signs are pointing that he's gonna stay, right? Recently received a big contract a couple years ago for beating Ohio State and everything, winning the Big Ten. Um, he's done it 3 straight years. I see no reason that he couldn't do it for a 4th straight year. I just don't think he's gonna repeat. I don't see that in him, but again, don't rule it out. But a 4th straight Big Ten title, it's gonna be hard, but it's very doable, I would say, for the Wolverines and Jim Harbaugh. I'll cut to the chase, give my record prediction, looking at the schedule and everything. I'm gonna give the at most prediction here and say they do go 11-1 again. And I think the loss, it could range from anyone. They got Oregon at home. Teams like Illinois and Indiana are gimme games for Michigan. They'll beat them. Northwestern, they'll beat them. They could lose that Washington game on the road. They could drop at home to Texas in week 2 like Alabama did this year. They could lose at Ohio State later in the year. Don't know what Ohio State's got, haven't looked at them yet, but they could definitely drop 1 game, but I think the schedule sets up pretty nicely for Michigan. I think it favors Michigan going forward, and I would say that they should be the Big Ten favorites heads on for 2024, 25, 26 going forward, unless something crazy happens this year or unless something crazy happens with Jim Harbaugh leaving. But as far as we know, he's going to stay at Michigan. And I think as long as he's at Michigan and he's recruiting well, and he's got his coaching staff, I think they're in pretty good shape. So I'm gonna say 11-1 at most. Again, I'm not gonna put up banners for, like, the losses, but we'll kinda go with the flow this off season with these preview videos. We'll talk about it and get it all taken care of. Wanna hear from you guys in the comments on Michigan this year, 2024. Can they repeat? That's a big question. Georgia did it, and if they could do it, I'm sure anybody can. Nah, I'm just messing with Georgia there, honestly. I know what Kirby Smart's capable of, and who knows, maybe he's taking over college football with Nick Saban retiring, we'll see. But Arkansas State, a win for Michigan, Minnesota, USC, haven't looked at them. I don't know. They struggled this past year, but they could get back on track. We'll find out. Texas, they lose some key pieces going to the SEC. That's week 2. It's early on in Ann Arbor. I don't see Michigan dropping those games. Washington, they're going to lose key pieces too. That could be a loss, but at the same time, it could favor Michigan in that October 5th matchup. But I'm going to say 11-1. I don't like to predict 12-0 because it's hard to go undefeated in college football. It can happen, obviously. We've seen it, especially with Michigan this past year. But at the same time, I gotta see them taking a loss somewhere down the road this next season. But I could be wrong, and it wouldn't surprise me if they found a way to go 12-0 again, make the playoffs. I think the only thing that would surprise me is if they do what Georgia did and go back to back. Anyway, I love you guys. God bless you all. Jesus loves you. Trust and believe that. Share this out, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff here at Ballard Sports Media for more sports content. And we'll see you next time. Ballard Sports Media. Check it out. I love y'all. Peace.